Hello, and welcome to the conversation. I'm Stephanie Rivers with TCB Drones, and today we're going to talk a little bit about expectations. Now, when it comes to our children, we have the highest of expectations. We try to put them in all types of preparatory courses, whether it's ballet or band or sports, to get them ready for their future. And so, one of the things that we've been doing lately is we've been preparing them through STEM programs. So, we know STEM, STEM, that's science, technology, engineering, and math programs. So, that's what a lot of parents are doing, trying to make sure that their children are ready for the challenges of today as well as the challenges of the future. But here's the thing, we also need to be preparing ourselves for those same challenges because I came across some information the other day that said Black women with a bachelor's degree earn less than white men with no degree at all. And that's that's showing that our not only are we as individuals as we as people are undervalued, our skills are undervalued. We will go to school, we'll get that degree, we will spend time away from our families, we will do what we can to get those degrees, and then we show up in the work environment and we are underpaid and undervalued. So, what TCB Drones Academy is doing to do our part is we started a scholarship program whereby we offer scholarships to women as well as people of color in the arena of drone technology. Because when it comes to our representation in as drone pilots, it is less than 1% for women. It's around 3% for women overall. And when it comes to Black women and Black men, it's much lower than that. So we're doing our part by offering scholarships to people to attend our drone pilot prep course so we can show you how to go from zero experience as a drone pilot to being a drone pilot hero and getting your drone pilot certification in less than 30 days. And so the latest scholarship winner is Charerelle Webb in
Awesome.
Houston, Texas. Hi.
Yeah.
So
Hello,
she's our
hello.
guest today on our podcast, so we can talk to her. So one, we want them to see that Sherelle, you're a real person because I'm sure
Yes.
there are organizations out there who say, yeah, we give scholarships, and you never see the winner. You never see, well, who did get that
Mhm.
money or who did get that.
Yeah.
So we always want to show who's getting our scholarship. So
Mhm.
congratulations on that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's an honor and a privilege to say that I'm a recipient of the scholarship for TCB Drones. I'm so excited to be a part of your program and your mastermind. So I'm happy to be on this journey. So thank you for saying yes to the opportunity to give me the scholarship for this training.
And you know what? When I read through the scholarship applications,
Mhm.
yours stood out to me because I just
Oh,
want to, I want for the person who's receiving it to have a plan for using it. So
absolutely.
before we get to that, tell us a little bit about your background. You live in Houston, and what do you
Yeah.
do for a living?
Yeah, so I'm so happy you asked. So hello and good evening to everyone. My name is Charerelle Webb, and I am the founder of Coding with a Twist, where we introduce not only the underrepresented, the underestimated, right? The underestimated to the world of computer science, robotics, and coding. And so, as a founder of Coding with a Twist, we have multiple programs around Greater City Houston. Matter of fact, we're in about 26 schools across Greater City Houston where we're introducing not only drones, but also all things in all phases of STEM. I have a background of chemistry and biology, so I love all sciences. I love physics, chemistry, as well as biology. So, with our STEM program, we are integrating science, technology, engineering, mathematics, drones, and most importantly, critical thinking. And so, it is so important to me, in my opinion, for me to go out and get a certification if I am showing my students how to handle a drone and the laws that comes with it. So I do believe that just like having a certified instructor in a classroom, it is nice to also have a certified drone pilot if this is what I'm introducing to our scholars.
Wow, you said a mouthful. So, how did you get involved with biology and chemistry? Is that just something that you've always wanted to do, or was there a mentor or a teacher in your life that steered you in that direction?
Science has always been a love of mine. I can reflect back on Miss Mary Ann Terry. Miss Mary Ann Terry was my high school biology teacher, and I remember being, of course, introduced to science before then, but more specifically, Miss Terry developed a very close relationship with me after the passing of my mom, and she didn't have to become so close, or she didn't have to attend the services, but she did, and I thought that that was more than what she stood in front of me from Monday through Friday. Like, she showed me her caring for me outside the classroom, and me falling in love with science, it was something that I gravitated to. I gravitated to it very early, and I was able to peer mentor. And so that actually had my confidence skyrocketed because I was able to quickly learn these concepts that was not always so easily for others to understand. So I knew back in high school that science was something that I wanted to explore more of because I processed it in a different way.
Wow, that's awesome. You know, a lot of our interests arise from a teacher who cared beyond what
Mhm.
other teachers would do.
Yeah.
So that also led you to become a teacher as well.
Yeah, well, actually, I have a family full of educators, and so my original, or my what I went to school for, was nursing. So I love to care for people. So nursing was my major. However, because if anyone knows about the nursing track, it follows the line of a biologist or someone going into sciences. So I've taken all of the biology courses, and at this point, I really got the itch. I got the itch and it's like, you know what? I'm ready to graduate. So I did not go ahead and pursue nursing, but I had enough credits and enough content to graduate with my major in chemistry and my minor in biology.
Wow. Wow, that's
Mhm.
awesome. That's awesome. And you said now you provide coding classes to students throughout Houston?
Yeah, so after I graduated, my sister, who was a principal at the time, she said, "You know what, Real? I desperately need a great science teacher because my high school students are not passing their end of course exam." And
Mm.
so I said, "You know what? Teaching is not far fetched, being that I tutored in math, science, and reading early on in college. So, I can do this for her." So I attended the Texas Teacher Alternative Certification Program and obtained my teaching certificate through them. And my first assignment was high school chemistry, then went on to seventh grade math, and then I ended up in eighth grade science, where I absolutely loved. And so in 2019, though, I was introduced to computer science. And so there was a computer science professional development for teachers at Rice University that I was declined of going to. And the reason why I said I was declined is because I applied to go and I received an email that said, "Hey, we're full." And just like any strong head woman, I decided to drive out to Sunset Boulevard and attend the training. And it really blew my mind in ways of, I know I had to learn this skill so I could take it back to my students, because as I grow and as I stretch, my students will grow and stretch, and they can only grow and stretch to the capacity that I have. And so
Right.
introduce to them I want to introduce them to something that could change their trajectory. And computer science has been that for me and for them. And so that's how I was introduced to computer science.
So let me ask you about testing, because you said your sister said that her students were not passing uh those
ELCs.
those skills tests that every, I guess every class or every so often, like if you're in junior high or high school, you have to pass it.
Yes.
So
Mhm.
do you think that it is more of an issue of students not being able to understand the information, or it's also, or more that the teacher is not conveying it in a way that they can receive it? What is the disconnect in testing that we see going on?
Yes, that's a great question. I actually think it's both. I think it's both because the STAR test or the EOCs may not necessarily put in cultural relevant things. So say for
Mhm.
instance, where I taught was in Fifth Ward, and so there's not a large body of water anywhere near. So I noticed that on some of the past release questions, when it came particular to the Newton's laws of motion, and the third law of motion is action reaction. And so there was a scenario where this young lady was stepping off of a boat, and they
Mhm.
wanted to know how did this reflect, or how did it convey the third law of motion. Well, the third law of motion was conveyed because as the young lady stepped off the boat, and if you've been on a boat, you know that when you step off, the boat then goes back a little bit while she's propelling forward. Well, my students had never got on a boat before, so they didn't know what was going to happen. So that
Huh,
wasn't quite a culture relevant question because they hadn't any experience with the boat. And so that's
okay.
a grand disconnect because you're giving me scenarios off of experience I have yet to experience. So how would I know?
Hmm. And so also, in addition to teaching them and making it relevant, I think that's what I was going to say. What was I going to say? Teaching it and making it relevant, we have to be a part of the the team that creates the tests, so that we can bring
Absolutely.
these things up. Because although
Yes.
you would expect, I mean, I guess people, we kind of think that everybody has the same experience for some reason. We just think that, and that's not
Hmm.
necessarily
Yeah.
true. And so,
At all.
especially when you're testing students or trying to gauge what their knowledge is, you have to take into consideration their experience at wherever they are in life,
Absolutely.
or their
Yes, ma'am.
geography. And so a lot of
Yeah.
times we are held to a disadvantage because we don't have that same experience as the people who are in charge of making the test. Yes.
Exactly.
Okay. So if anybody's listening, hopefully they will approach you, talk to you about being a part of that, because I can see how your experience and that you are really engaged with your students in helping to bring them along. And so I, for one, appreciate you for that. So
Yes,
let's
ma'am.
go into, so you mentioned though that is as a STEM, as bringing the STEM program to your students, you want to be a certified drone pilot, because if you're going to
Yes.
be talking to them about being a drone pilot, you want to at least have that expertise as a part of what you're doing. So once you
Yes,
get that,
absolutely.
because I certainly see that you're going to be one of our superstars and
Yes.
get that pilot's license, drone pilot license soon. So what type of are you going to talk to your students about getting the license? Because and talk to me about this. I see that a lot of students, I didn't ask you what age group do you work with?
Oh, K through 12. So I
Okay.
have many of my after school programs are with littles. When I say littles, the elementary students. But there are a number of weekend programs that I facilitate that people are asking me to be a part of that are on a weekend. And we're talking about middle school to high school. So usually elementary is during the week, Monday through Friday. And then I go up on the weekend to the middle school and high school students.
So what I found in lately is a lot of high school students who are graduating or opting to not go to college for whatever reason, whether it's money or whether family obligations or what have you. They're opting to not go to college. So a lot of high schools are looking at, we still want our students to leave here with some practical skills that
Hmm.
can be used for as not just practical skills, but marketable skills so they can
Yes.
start to make money right now. Is that
Mhm.
something that you see is that's going on in the Houston area?
Most definitely. When I was an educator at first, well, and probably very similar to you, school worked for us, right? We went to college, graduated college, and we have a gainfully employment, right? Gainful employment, but as I was an educator, I always preach go to college, go to college, go to college. But now that I've stepped into this world of entrepreneurship full time since 2022, that is not something that I preach all the time. That's not something I preach like I did before for education or a college, but definitely having entrepreneur skills. And having those entrepreneur skills, students are looking for more so of that because they are, I don't want to say don't want to obey authority, but they do see themselves as bosses, or they want to become bosses. They want to have their own schedules and all those things. I don't think that it needs to be too fast because there's some things that we learned as employees that are great that we can then transition over. So I don't
Correct.
believe that it should happen so fast, but I do believe that everyone needs to be entrepreneurial.
Yeah, so and inside of that, when we because we work with high school students, getting
Mhm.
them because you can be as young as 16 and get your drone pilot
Yes.
license. And so that, like you said, there are skills that you learn by being an employee, just to be disciplined and
Yes.
responsible, all those things
Yes.
that you need to have as a business owner, you can learn
Mhm.
under somebody else while you're making money and then
Yes.
transition out of that. So, but yeah, so I wanted to see how you would use your drone pilot license, and that's what we need. So you and I, that's probably why I said, I think Charerelle would be the best winner for our scholarship because
Yes.
of
You.
what you're doing and the possibilities of us collaborating, and so that's
Mhm.
important, to help the next generation, to get them prepared for the technology and
Absolutely.
the advancements that are up on us right now. So that's important to us. So if
Yes.
you were to speak to your younger self, Charerelle, what advice would you give to students, your younger self, as it pertains to being challenging yourself and trying to do something outside of the norm? Because I don't know, you probably can attest to, there are not a lot of biology professionals who are doing what you're
Mhm,
doing who look like you.
mhm. Yes. Yes, I've always been in rooms where I'm usually the only chocolate drop. Because me transitioning from the classroom, I actually worked at NASA with the Lunar and Planetary Institute as an education specialist. And then
Girl.
in April 1st, yes, April 1st, 2022, I said, you know what? If they could pay me X amount of dollars for something that comes naturally, like why can't I do that for myself? So April 1st, 2022, I decided to fire my boss to follow my dream of entrepreneurship. And if I was talking to my younger self, I would tell my younger self, Charerelle, as long as the fire inside of you is burning brighter than the fire around you, you
Mm.
got it. You got it.
That's awesome. That's so inspiring, and we are lucky to have found you.
Oh, thank
And
you.
I know you're going to do. You've done awesome, just being who you are and starting your business and stepping out on faith
Yes.
and doing and the success. You know, that's another thing. A lot of people they they want for it to just fall into their lap. So I
Mhm.
like to say they wait for success to happen like it's a package that they ordered. You
Oh
know,
no.
it's gonna show up at my door. Success is not just gonna show up at your door. You got
Mm-mm.
to go get it. And
Yes,
so I see that you're a go-getter and you
absolutely.
have some success, and we're happy to have you as a part of our cohort, the upcoming cohort. And so, if anyone wants to reach out to you and possibly work with your company, how can
Yes.
they find you?
Yes. So I am on, of course, Facebook as Charerelle Webb and or Coding with the Twist LLC. Twitter as Charerelle, or excuse me, SW underscore on fire to inspire. If you simply go to Google and type in on fire to inspire, that's been my personal mission statement for about 7, 8 years now. And so what on fire to inspire means to me is that I want to meet someone new each and every day. From the barbershop, grocery store, pumping gas, buying bananas in a grocery store. Once someone and I collaborate or just start exchanging conversation, you either start something, complete something, or continue something because of our engagement. And that's what on fire to inspire means. So I'm sure you can find at one of those hashtags and or searches, you will be able to find Charerelle Webb. I'm sure of it.
All right, Miss Charerelle Webb. So we're looking forward to it, and we will keep in touch. We've got you down for one of our upcoming drone pilot prep
Yay!
courses. And so within 30 days after you complete that course, we're going to have you on course to be a certified drone pilot.
I'm
Just so
ready.
you know.
I am ready.
All right, ma'am. So we will certainly keep in touch, and you have a good rest of your day.
You as well. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
Bye. So she is on fire, and I like her energy. So we're looking for people who have that type of energy and who have a plan. And those are the types of people who we're choosing to be a part of to win one of our scholarships. So you can go to tcbdrones.com to apply for the scholarship program. And if you just want to follow us and learn more about what we're doing, you can follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram at TCB Drones. And yeah, that's what we're doing. So to find out more about us, that's where you go. And we have two classes in April, and we have our May class. We've even got a weekend class. People are asking for the weekend class. Well, guess what, y'all? We got a weekend drone pilot prep course. So if you want to know more, you can reach out to me at, I'm going to try to put it in the chat, 214, the number 214 702 2559 for information about TCB drones as well as our upcoming classes. All right. So thank you so much, and you have a good rest of your day.